Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest, once again, is Lynn Tanguay, and today she is bringing with her one of her students, Pat Kilday. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Scott.
And you know what? You know what's great about having you on, Lynn, is I don't have to work because you do such a good job on this show that I could walk away and get coffee and nobody would even notice.
Well, don't do that, but thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come back, Scott, and have an opportunity. You've given me so many opportunities to have myself shine and to bring others into this group and tell their story. So I wanted to bring Patricia Kilday with me today. She is a client of mine through Breathe Fitness. She's been with me for 1 year. And she had an amazing transformation, which I really wanted to share her story from her point of view. She was able to drop almost 50 pounds and lose 23 inches in 1 year's time without doing anything crazy, without working out hours and hours a day. Everything was very healthy. Everything was very, what would you say?
Correct.
Very correct.
Okay, well let's see a photo here of you before. Okay, so how do you feel now?
I feel pretty amazing. I've always had a lot of energy, but I have more energy now, and I think the best part for any girl is to, you go from a size, I believe I was 11, 12, even a little bit higher, and now I'm back down into like a 9, 10, and even lower than that. I'm probably a little lower, but now I've been eating now that I can, and yeah.
But and the thing is I think both of you will agree is you don't have to be a size 4 or something like that. I guess I'm not much into clothes, so you don't have to be tiny and be in good shape.
Correct, and it really is not about size. It is more about how I feel generally. Even in the pictures that I have seen before and after, I can see my posture changing. As a massage therapist, I know how important it is to hold yourself well, that the body functions in a particular way, and therefore even doing exercises, it is key if you're going to be doing exercises to be doing them in a proper manner and to have good form and good technique while you're doing them, because then you will harm yourself and then everything you've done will be for naught.
Right. And how is she to work out with?
Lynn is amazing to work with. I started 1 year ago. I had gone away. And as all, it wasn't, I did nothing more than what someone in the past has done. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and as I will be known to have said, as you point the finger, there will be 3 back at you. And so you can point one, but there's three things that need to be corrected within myself, and I had it. And I walked into Lynn, we set up a time, and I said, okay. In 1 year, I will show up, I will do exactly everything you tell me to do, and I would like you to put me on stage. Being in bodybuilding has always been a dream of mine, and I thought at 56 at the time, why not? And I'll walk on stage at 57.
Right, and you've been on my show before, Lynn, not actually demonstrating bodybuilding, but you brought on some of your women. And so you have to be pretty comfortable in your skin, because that's about all you're showing is skin. Just little tiny glued on
loincloth. Yeah.
So you must have felt pretty confident that you could do this.
Yes, towards the end, I did. But I've also been known just to do things with and then worry about it later.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's the way I operate. But please, Lynn, if I walk in, and for some reason, it would have to be after having a few beers. If I ever ran into you and said, hey, in a year, I'm going to be strutting around out on stage in a Speedo, don't listen to me, please.
Yeah.
But I commend you for doing it, because if that's what you want to do, I think that's super, because I think just getting out on stage with a quote perfect body must be tough enough to be out on display.
No, it was a wonderful experience. I was on stage with a 24-year-old, two 30-year-olds, and a 45-year-old. And like I said, at where I'm at, chronologically, that's just where I'm at. But mentally, we're never the age of where we think we are. And I showed myself that I can do something, because it also started this journey with consistency in terms of, have you ever tried to, when you go to the dentist and you brush your teeth and they go, oh, you have brush marks, and oh no, you can't have brush marks, oh no. And so, you try to brush your teeth, and that's where it started. And they say, a habit takes so many weeks, or what, it took me a year even just to remember, 6 months, or it was a day or something. And then I'd go back to brushing really hard. And it's like, when am I going to learn to do one thing and do it for a year? And this is what I did. And now I have made it my life. I have changed who I am as a person. I will never stop working out. This just wasn't a bucket list,
right,
if you will. This was to change my life.
Right.
I am a person who's going to be working out. I'm a person who's going to be eating healthier for the rest of my life. I have longevity in my family, and so why not? I think it's wrong of people not to take care of themselves. I think that is more selfish than anything, and putting that burden on others when you can take control of yourself and you can work out and be empowered by that.
I know after 4 or 5 years, I've been working it. Well, I used to be one of Vermont's fastest runners at one point. As we have speed in our genes, and some reason, somewhere along the way, I ended up, life caught up to me and got too busy. And I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, but every morning, because I go at 6, still, I can't say, oh boy, I love this, but it's you sometimes have to just do it. I love working out in the morning, because then I don't have all day to make an excuse on why I don't do it. Sometimes I don't wake up until halfway through the workout. So
correct, and I too am a morning person. I never dreamed. Matter of fact, it's really funny when I look back. Lynn had said we're trying to find a time, and she goes, "Well, how about 6 o'clock?" I said, "What are you kidding? Like, I know I'm not getting up at 6 o'clock." Well, now I get up at 5:30, and get my workout done and get what needs to be done. And again, when you had said used to, that's who I was. I used to do this, and I used to do that, and I used to do this, and I used to that. No more. I now say I do, and it's done.
Yeah.
And that's just how this is going to roll from now on.
Right. Did you ever try any of these dorky diets that go around where you, let's just say you take a pill and drink 60 gallons of water a day, and then, I'm just making up something, but have you ever tried that route?
No, I have never been a diet person, because I never had to lose weight. Up until the time when I first moved to Vermont, I was always pretty muscular, pretty fit, never could pick anything up off the rack and put it on, and off I'd go. It was packing on the weight, the extra. A lot of it was midlife, a lot of it was stress. Just a lot of things. The other part, as a massage therapist, I am working at a rested heart rate all day long. And when you're in a room for 6, 7, 8 hours, working at that rate, you're not building any sweat up, but you certainly are moving your muscles and keeping tone. But so I needed to get out and get exercising. So to answer your question, no, I've never done a fad diet, and I knew the right way. It was just, eating correctly and exercise. I literally only exercised an hour a day. At the end, I needed to do an hour and a half, but that's it. That's pretty easy.
But I think you probably get more exercise than you, because I have a daughter-in-law in Maine who's a massage therapist, deep tissue person.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot more exercise to it than maybe you're just used to it. But if you're doing that all day, there is a certain degree of exercise.
Well, yes. I mean, you're moving, your muscles, when you're effleuraging or when you're holding and stuff. But if you're smart with your body, I've been doing it for 16 years, and I have not worn out yet. And I'm pretty strong, but it's the fulcrum. When you put your table low enough, you bend and you come from your legs and you come from your core. And that's how you work, so that you're leaning into it. So you're not really pushing, you're using your weight with the body, with massage. Because I'm a neuromuscular therapist. I do myofascial release, I do cranial sacral. I do a lot of different modalities that have kept me in this business.
Now, how was she as a student?
She was the best. Pat was, no matter what I gave her, she did. And in that year's time, she had one appointment she missed with me. And she was with me 2 days a week, 7:30 in the morning, and she worked out on her own 3 to 4 days a week. And that one time she missed, I was calling her like, "Where are you?" I was really concerned because she had never missed.
I was sick.
She was sick. And other than that, her energy, to watch someone come in kind of beaten down. She was beaten down when she came in for that first time and telling me, in a year I'm going to do this, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I believe I will do whatever it takes to make sure she gets up there. And she followed everything I asked. And as time went on, to watch her flourish and her step, I mean, she had so much more pep in her step. She had so much more energy. She had that smile on her face. She was just making plans. She was getting things done. There was no excuses. And to me, that's what this journey is about. Everyone can look at her before and after pictures and be blown away. I mean, even as a coach, I was blown away the day I saw her up on that stage.
Okay, here's a photo of her on the stage. So, how did it feel did you practice, or is there any such thing as practice of getting up on the stage? Like, did you just all of a sudden decide to maybe walk into a bar in your little outfit just to give yourself some?
Oh, that was my former life.
Oh.
Oh yes, no, I am not shy when it comes to that. I did practice. You have to practice. Any athlete has to practice. So you practice in front of that mirror. You take pictures. You are consistent. There's determination. You don't come this far in life just to go drop off. Oh, sure, you can, but who are you going to hurt? Those fingers again. You can't point without having three back at you.
Right.
So this was a no excuse zone. No excuse.
Right.
And that is what I needed to do. So yes, I practiced and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced.
You mentioned about you've come too far. You know what is kind of sad to see? Actually, I just saw something on my news feed about the Biggest Loser contest and how a lot of those people actually go on to gain all their weight back, because I just don't think it has to be a lifestyle. And I think you see so many people who get onto these fad diets, they lose all kinds of weight just like that. Then you run into them again, it's like, really? It's all back.
Well, I'd like to speak about that in terms of, as Lynn said, I was beaten down. I was at a different place. And it's as you had said, you were the fastest runner, and then life took over. Yes, that's exactly what happened. My life took over. There was always something in the way. And I didn't make myself a priority. I either made my children or whomever else was in my life. They were, that was what was important. And through this journey, you literally get the bejeebas. When you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. When I got squeezed, everything and anything came out. I mean, Lynn has just not only been my coach, she has been my best friend. She has been my confidant. She has been my rock. She has been everything to me. And I needed to entrust her with everything I had. Everything. No bars held. Every nook, every cranny, that needed to come out. Lynn needed to accept that and acknowledge that when I shook her hand, because that's how I was raised. She gave me her word, and I gave her my word, and the handshake was given, and so the agreement was made. And that is so important. I really recommend to really anyone to take a journey and never go back, because it's been so worth it. Because I almost feel like I'm more of my authentic self, as they speak of, that I am more who God intended to be. You know what I'm saying?
And look at it this way too: is we talk about our lives getting ahead of us and family and everything, but in reality, by at least having some form of health, you are actually being good to your family, because you're going to be, if you're not around longer, at least you're going to be able to, be there and.
Exactly. And I have longevity in the family, and I want to be, I want my to play with my grandchildren if I ever have them. I mean, I ride, a Harley, and I've got a lot of miles to do out there, and that's part of being healthy.
Whereas me, I have just the opposite. I don't have longevity, even though my father's in great shape for 81, but he's the only boy in his family ever lived, I think even lived to be 70. Now he's 81. So I have just the opposite. I have the other reason to try to stay healthy. But then I also have some good role models. You were talking about motorcycles. My buddy, Joe Queenan, 92-year-old combat veteran of World War II, back a couple years ago, some of his motorcycle friends decided to start throwing old Joe on motorcycles with them. They dress him up like a Harley biker, give him a mic and everything. They bring him all over the place, and he's 92 and still he's in super shape. He doesn't do bodybuilding, but he's still in great shape. So just for you though, your business is not just about building bodybuilders. You just if somebody comes to you and say, hey, I really don't want to be a bodybuilder, but I want to get in shape, and I just that's all I want.
The bodybuilding part of it is, and I'm not a bodybuilder, and I did not have the knowledge I needed for her posing or her routine. I needed help with some of her nutrition. It's very different than what I do. So Bobby LePage helped us immensely. I mean, Bobby is he's got so many years in doing what he does, and that's what he does. He does bodybuilding. So Pat worked with him quite a lot on the posing and the routine. And at the end, I could not keep weight on Pat. I mean, it was the craziest thing. I'm like, did you ever think this would be what what was happening? Her metabolism was so fired up that any little thing I tried to take away, she just dropped like 5-6 pounds. And so it was like, I'd be like, what does Bobby suggest? Like, I need help with this. Her physique, we needed to keep as much muscle on her as we possibly can. And she's 57 years old. And so unfortunately, her skin, losing that amount of inches, it was a little saggy, so we had to keep her looking fuller, which it ended up, at the end, she looked absolutely amazing, but there was some touch and go for all of us. And what I do is a little different, but I have probably a 0.01% that I work with that I actually get them ready for shows. It's probably more of a hobby and a passion where that's concerned. I work with 15-year-olds right now. I have a 15-year-old I work with up to a 74-year-old. And they're all ages. They are all in different parts of their health journey. I have some that are extremely unhealthy. I have some that just might want to lose a little bit of weight. I have my 15-year-old that's looking to get fit for, she's doing field hockey. I don't have a specific group I work with. I want to work with everyone, and I believe everybody can use some help. And that's what I'm there for. Whatever, she allowed me into her life. Like she said, I mean, I know probably way too much about Pat. I know a lot. And so, that's not always where people want to go with this. I have people that come just once a month, and they want me to help set up their weeks for them because they're so busy and overwhelmed, and they're just not sure where to go. And I have people that come to me 4 days a week. There's nothing is set in stone, because I believe everyone needs to be helped, and I need to meet them at where they're at. So that's I'm always there to help at whatever capacity.
What's interesting is some people say, well, geez, I don't have the money to go to work out or this or that. And well, I have a couple of issues with that is, well, you can do something no matter what, even if it's just walking. But the other thing is I don't know if they've ever looked at hospital bills, and even with the deductibles, like, that's a lot of money, and it's nothing compared to the cost of trying to stay healthy. And I'm convinced, because we very healthy, whether I like it or not, because like, I have a junk food junkie gene in me, and I never get it at the house, because if it's there, it needs to be eaten. So I don't get it. But now, do you have any weaknesses, or are you just perfect? Like, is there anything?
It's a TV show. Yes, I do have weaknesses, and I have been indulging in them recently because I can. I really was never a chip or soda person. I am a sweet person, but I don't need to eat the whole cake. I could just have the piece or the creme brulee or whatever. I just like a little dessert afterwards. So I've always eaten very healthy, but I don't think I've ever eaten enough. I still eat 5 times a day.
Right.
I have to now.
Right.
It's just, my body is just burning, because that's what, your body is a machine, and you fuel it with food, and that's how you do it.
Well, you struck on to something that I'm going to ask both of you, because I've noticed that is everybody thinks that eating, of course, if you eat too much, you're going to gain weight, probably. But on the other hand, it seems like with me, my wife and I, we noticed that if we eat sometimes like really too healthy and maybe not enough, is when your weight either stops losing or you actually start bumping up. What is that about?
It's, and this is the misconception, and I guess this is where I just want everyone to be aware. You don't need to starve yourself. It's that feast or fathom. If I don't eat, I'll lose weight. That's not the case. First, you are going to have headache. You're going to be lethargic. You're not going to have the energy to do what you need. If you fuel your body with the proper nutrition 5 to 6 times a day, I never stop eating. It is ridiculous. And people will look at me and be like, oh my God, you got to eat. You got to eat. You got to eat. Look at you. And it's like, I'm doing six meals a day.
So you're a grazer like me.
I do planned meals, certain amounts. It's all very, I shouldn't say it's restricted, but I weigh my food. I have specific things that I need to do to make sure I can get the most out of my workouts, out of my cardio session. And then on top of that, I have a business. I have a 4-year-old son, and I have a really busy husband. So I need energy to keep up with everything that's happening, and to still do it with a smile on my face.
So if I spaced out my bag of, or whatever, my thing of Oreo cookies throughout the day, can I eat the entire?
No.
Because that's why I don't get. My wife, she knows if we're gonna have anything sweet, like if the boys are coming home who are marathon runners, but they do like ice. She cannot have it in the house until they get there, because Dad's going to eat it all.
Right.
But I don't tempt myself with it. I can now go buy the junk food aisle without just about going into withdrawals. But it took a few years.
Yes.
But, and I'm not saying you can't have some cookies, but it should not be the norm.
Right.
Pat and I do off meal every week. I do some wine during the week. It's not like I don't ever allow that to happen, but it's 90% has got to be really nutrition based, really healthy, clean food.
Right.
Which is what I did for the majority of it. It
Yes.
was the last 8 weeks when there was zero tolerance for any alcohol, for any sweets, for any added fats and such, because you have to get your body to a particular place. You have to lean out. And because of, like Lynn, when she said, all of a sudden my body kicked in, and you would not have believed what I was eating. I mean, sweet potatoes, a cup and a half of vegetables. I mean, almost 5 times a day. I mean, it was just massive, and I was still trying to. That was just to stay at a particular place, and not only the scale weight, but the look, And if I didn't, if it would happen too fast, then I would have the baggies, you know. And you can't have the baggies when you're going to be up there nothing more than a loincloth, you know. So so we eat. But you fuel the body, and when you don't eat, guess what? The body hangs on for dear life because it doesn't know when it's going to get fed again. When you start eating more, then it will burn.
Okay, we only have about 4 more minutes
Sure.
left. What's your future now? Are you gonna? Because I assume like you're probably even gonna be rocking the nursing home when you're like 95 years old. You'll be
Correct. When I'm in the nursing home, I'm going to be sitting in my rocker listening to my oldies. Yeah, because I'm the oldies girl, and I love to dance. So that's usually was my form of exercise. As far as my future, I found a home. I found another family. I was explaining to somebody today, you're not in competition with these other girls. I was in competition with myself, and it was a very different feeling, and it was very refreshing. We were there together as a unit, but we were there individually, and it was really unique and very powerful for me.
So what response did you have from the women who could have been your children's age? You know, when they heard your age.
They thought that I was pretty awesome and that I rocked. They just couldn't believe.
Because at their age, they think like, because I remember thinking like 50, you know, that was when you started picking out your nursing homes. And, you know, now that isn't the way it works.
Yeah.
But when you're in your early 20s, you think, really? 50? You can't have a life.
Yeah. Well, you know, at 55, it's, you know, you start checking in with things. You know, you're halfway to 60. And I think that's really was the catalyst for me to taking control. Absolutely. Of me, of myself.
Right. What do you have to say for final words?
Well, it's a great story. We were down in Cape Cod for her show a couple weekends ago, and she was getting spray tanned. It's a touch-up tan, so they do it like right out in this hallway. And her family, she's like, hey, there's my family down there, Lynn. Will you go grab them? I'm like, yep, I will. So it's her son and her brother and her mom. They all came to support her. And I'm like, Pat's right there. And they're like, where? I'm like, right there. And they were like, wait, where? I'm like, the one in the neon bikini. Like, they were so blown away. Her own family did not recognize her. I mean, and to me, it was so wonderful to see the look on their faces when they got to see her. And then for them to be able to experience it with her and being on the stage and them seeing firsthand her just taking charge of her life. And it's never too late. That's my message. And this is why I wanted Pat to come on, was no matter how you're feeling or what your dreams were or your goals, it's never too late. You just need to really, you know, find someone to help you with it and put it into an action plan and just do it. And then that's how easy it was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It really was. It wasn't always easy. I stomped, I cried, I fussed, I fumed. One day I did that throughout my whole entire workout because I had different breaking points, and it was me, you know, hey, I'm old enough to do and eat and whatever what I want. And I'm like, no. And I kept turning around. And as my father used to always say, be strong.
Right. All right, one other thing is, are we starting to learn as a country that we do have to, you know, nobody, because, you know, I think as society went from a physical, you know, I think a lot of times we worked with our hands, and I think to a certain degree we were able to keep off some of the pounds that way, but we've become largely a sedentary people. And I think that's why some of the pounds are going on and the processed food. But are we starting to learn yet as a country, or are we still not bending that curve?
I hope we are. I do, because the health, it's a whole like nation in crisis is how I feel about it. You know, when I go to schools and I see the kids, you know, I do, the Derby School has this amazing mile jog they do every spring, and I go with my niece and participate. And for me to look at some of those kids, it makes me want to cry, because that's a struggle they will have their entire life. And we are, give me a pill and fix it. I mean, that's just what our society is let's go to the doctors and we'll get some medicine and move on. And it's just really about it no longer is vanity. And when you get to be a little bit older, it's not about how I look in my bikini or how I look in my jeans. It's about how am I going to live longer to enjoy the life I want and be around for my child. And the examples that you are setting for your children, they're watching everything. They don't miss a beat. And so I really want to make sure I'm that like stellar example for my son. This morning he was just asking me when he gets to be a grown-up if he was going to work in the gym with me. And I was just like, yep, you are. Like, it'll be yours when you get older. But he's already looking at that. And to me, I'm doing my job then as a parent.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for both coming on.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Scott.
Scott.
Keep
for
up
having us.
the great work, but I'm still telling you, I'm not.
I'm bedazzling that thing right now.
There's no Speedo in my future.
I'm getting my bedazzler out. It's going to happen.
And thank you for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.